Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, I guess it would be remiss of me if I didn't at least weigh in on Volkswagen's battery day. Oh, sorry, power day. And I'm sorry if this presentation is somewhat belated. I've been tied up with other videos. I will at least try and take an original perspective as much as I can. So it would seem that Volkswagen have done their research. They know their stock price is going to implode, and quite possibly the company will go under entirely. Their job is to prop the stock price up for as long as possible, at least whilst they still have a career, in time to receive their golden parachutes, and then leave the job to whoever is next in line to try and maintain the stock price, convincing the world Volkswagen still has a future in private transportation. Does that sound unbelievable to you? Surely Volkswagen, a company with such an admired long-standing brand, wouldn't try and pull one over on you. Again? Oh yeah, that's right. They already have with Dieselgate. Oh, wait, and their ID3 sales too. Counting sales to their dealers and not the actual consumer. But no, a presentation as authoritative as this, with so much money about to be spent, must be the real deal, right? Well, let's find out. Volkswagen have likely conducted some of the most extensive market research out of any company on the planet about EVs. And if you can read between the lines, the second largest ICE company has basically announced that EVs are the future. ICE is finished. Their legacy business is crumbling underneath their feet. Volkswagen and Toyota are the two biggest auto manufacturers in numbers. So why are we not seeing similar announcements from Toyota? Well, the difference between the two is that Toyota has gone for the bottom end of the market. They offer the lowest cost car available, not just in purchase price, but in running costs too. Very fuel efficient with their hybrid technologies, low servicing costs, reliable so they don't break down often. Even if they do, the parts don't cost that much. Therefore, they have very little room to move on price, and as batteries would cost significantly more for them, it's off-brand for Toyota, whereas Volkswagen, and its subsidiary brands especially, do sell for a more premium price, and are thus able to perhaps factor the cost of battery in there too. Although currently, they're only achieving this by charging significantly more than their ICE equivalents, and not likely even making a profit in the progress. And their power day seems to have been convincing. We saw Volkswagen's stock price jump 20% at one stage. That also tells you that the market thinks EVs are the future, and seem to think that if Volkswagen can be part of it, then it's what the market wants. So let's get into the details. It would seem that Volkswagen have understood what is necessary to achieve a successful EV company. It's about getting the price of batteries down and securing a large enough battery supply. So they've identified the necessary steps. But knowing what needs to be done doesn't mean you can achieve it. They could have equally said, we want to compete with Google on search. We know we must create more accurate results and deliver them instantly. That doesn't mean they can compete with Google. So Herbert Diess introduces the presentation and instantly admits e-mobility has won the race. He then gives Volkswagen instant credibility by saying 5 years ago they decided to build a single platform for electric cars. He makes it out like Volkswagen have been innovative here, as if they were the first to market. Also, I'm not even sure what platform he's referring to. Perhaps the original Porsche Mission E, when it was first mentioned? And then he makes out all the other manufacturers are following suit. This is all just marketing hyperbole. No one is following Volkswagen. They're all following Tesla. Diess claims Volkswagen are a forefront in technology and will apply these principles to battery technology by focusing on one standard battery, and this one standard battery will be used in 80% of their vehicles. And yes, that's the right path for economies of scale, just like Tesla are trying to do with their 4680 batteries. Elon has said he plans on transitioning to 4680 batteries in every vehicle over time, and Diess claims this will reduce battery prices by 50%. Of course, we don't know from what price he's referring, so this claim literally means nothing really. And Diess says Volkswagen are planning on operating 6 gigafactories with 40 gigawatt hours each, on their own and in collaboration with partners, presumably Northvolt, a battery company founded by ex-Tesla employees, but doesn't really have a lot of experience yet, unlike LG, Panasonic or CATL, which in my opinion is dangerous, as if done incorrectly, batteries can catch fire. Anyway, let's back up here for a second, because Volkswagen have just shown us their entire hand. Diess says they will have these factories by 2030, so that's 240 gigawatt hours by 2030. Tesla claim to have 3 terawatt hours by 2030. Now currently, I can't see any other potential EV competitors showing any signs coming close to what Volkswagen are trying to achieve. In other words, if there's going to be a number 2 EV competitor, at least this decade, it may very well be Volkswagen. But they've just shown us their market share. On Battery Day, Tesla said the market size is about 10 terawatt hours a year. Now, if Volkswagen are producing 240 gigawatt hours a year, then that's a 2.4% market share. Tesla's in-house batteries alone should be at 3 terawatt hours a year, likely before 2030, and their partners could round that up to 5 terawatt hours total. So where are the other EV manufacturers? Volkswagen is trying to compete against Tesla, even making claims that they'll beat Tesla by catching up, which is obviously absurd, but that's what they've said. So from here on in, it doesn't even matter if their technology is better than Tesla's. If their cars are nicer or even better value, they simply can't manufacture enough cars. In other words, Tesla will continue to be able to sell every car they make. If this is the best the next biggest player can achieve, there is absolutely no other EV maker that will take away from Tesla's sales. This is huge. This is with Volkswagen, an established brand, or brands even, with the distribution, the factories already built, the decades of experience, the available capital. What other possible competitor will come close? Even the tech giant Apple is having trouble getting into the industry. And even if Apple did, they have a lot of catching up to do. Scaling up takes a long time. Dice then goes on about how important charging is and that they will multiply the number of charging points in Europe by a factor of 5 over the next 4 years. So presumably, this will be done through Ionity, the charging station network jointly owned by Volkswagen that currently have about 400 charging stations in Europe, with an average of 6 charging points per station, so a total of 2,400 charging points. So if they multiply that by 5, they'll have 12,000 in 2025, nearly an additional 10,000. Meanwhile, Tesla currently has a factory making 10,000 charging stations a year, but somehow Dice claims that they will create the largest public power charging network. So he's just outright lying here. So Volkswagen's market research seems to have come across V2G, vehicle to grid, and they're claiming that their cars will be capable of this. But on Battery Day, Elon said there needs to be some sort of power cutoff, otherwise you'll backflow energy to the grid. So just having a reversal in the power flow does not actually keep the lights on. You need a whole separate system to cut off power to the grid. Elon does say that despite all that, you can definitely do V2G with some software in Europe. However, in the US, the way the connectors are doesn't support powering your home and will require additional hardware. So this is why I believe that the Powerwall is a necessity for V2G in the US. But all Teslas will be able to do bidirectional power flow for the purpose of energy market participation. So it sounds like for Europe, Volkswagen will be able to offer this service, and perhaps they can create some additional hardware for the US market too. Personally, I'm all for VTG and VPP, virtual power plants. I think they're a great idea. A car with perhaps 75 kilowatt hours battery compared to a Powerwall with under 15 kilowatt hours is a big difference. After that, the technology board member goes into details on basically how they're going to save costs, with something very similar to Tesla's Battery Day, except that it would appear their main cost saving is going to be transitioning to lithium iron phosphate batteries, or LFP, which is just changing the cathode to a different material. Tesla also use LFP, and I think will start to use it in the majority of their batteries. But they can get away with it due to their hardware and software being that much more efficient, and thus not affecting range. Volkswagen's range on their cars are already notoriously bad. If they start using LFP, surely they will only get worse. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the Nissan Leaf sells, and they have models with ranges of around 150 miles. Next, we see Volkswagen's head of the battery cell division go into detail, but nothing revolutionary here, in fact quite the opposite. They're planning on using cobalt in their batteries. So it sounds like Volkswagen have caught up to Tesla's 2017 batteries, the 2170 cells, and Volkswagen seems set on using child labour in their approach to batteries as they still contain cobalt. Seriously. Oh, but actually, it turns out they have a little secret up their sleeves. They're going to use solid-state batteries in the future. No, not in-house ones that their engineers have created, but QuantumScape. You know, whenever they're ready. And it's going to be so much better, and they can prove it with data. And it's an entire graph that obviously can't be disputed in any possible form. Who needs to see a working life prototype when a graph can depict things so much easier? And this could be 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, or maybe never. And then they would still need to scale up from there, which could be an additional 5 years. whilst I would say Tesla's batteries are making gigantic leaps in technology in the meantime. Oh, and I also have a theory. I think that QuantumScape is not the number one company when it comes to solid-state batteries. No, I think that might actually be Tesla too. Makes perfect sense, as solid-state batteries are more valuable to Tesla than any other company on the planet by orders of magnitude. Okay, I could go into more detail on the specific specifications, but I feel that's already been covered by so many other YouTubers. I don't want to be a Me Too type channel. Of course, Volkswagen are making one major underlying assumption on all this. They're going with the cliche, if you build it, they will come. Perhaps they think that because every Tesla that gets made gets sold, they think equally it'd be the same for Volkswagen. But judging by their results so far, this does not prove to be true. And given how Tesla are pretty close to launching a $25,000 model, I can't see how Volkswagen have any chance of selling all their EVs, and that's if they manage to make them in the first place. On the other hand, consumers may have no choice. They may only want EVs by this stage. ICE might be so passé or even frowned upon like smoking, not to mention governments clamping down on ICE cars. And Teslas could be in such high demand that the waiting list is either too long or the used prices are too high. At least by this stage, Volkswagen should be delivering some fairly decent range at affordable prices with some half-decent looks. Obviously forget about level 5 autonomy, but level 3 autonomy for Mobileye might be a possibility. But let's not forget that these battery factories will cost a fortune, and Volkswagen is already up to the eyeballs in debt. So how are they going to fund these projects? While also running a dying ICE business. Another issue is that dealers don't want to sell their electric cars. Greenpeace went undercover with secret shoppers and discovered the majority of dealers were still recommending internal combustion Volkswagens. But why can't Volkswagen just use suppliers like CATL or LG? Seriously, that's a good question. If it's feasible for Tesla to, then why can't Volkswagen? Could it be possible that Tesla have locked in all the suppliers for themselves? Again, reading between the lines here, we can gather more information than is being told. A Tesla possibly just a monopsony for the other 3 largest battery manufacturers too. Wow. Now, please don't get me wrong, I do welcome competition as a consumer. Sure, as a Tesla shareholder, it's easy to say, I only want Tesla to dominate. But competition is good. Competition breeds innovation. And sure, Tesla will likely have 70-80% of EV market share, or more, but it would be a little bit boring if every car on the road was a Tesla, and a lot of consumers will feel the same. They want something a bit different, and not even Tesla are capable of making enough cars to fulfill the entire EV demand anyway. But is Volkswagen the brand to do this? Or are they too conditioned with old technology? Would you have bought an internal combustion car in the 1920s from a company that used to manufacture buggies? It may be more on brand for the likes of Samsung or Apple, technologically innovative companies. Although it does look tough for Apple to get themselves off the ground, and perhaps the like of Hyundai will pick a niche with lower cost range cars, although they will also be tough to compete against a $25,000 Tesla. It's just no matter how objective I try and be, I still can't see any serious competition on the way for Tesla in any of their markets. I really think the only point of all this is just to keep Volkswagen's stock price up that little bit longer in the hope of some sort of breakthrough, perhaps like solid state. And really, it's the only chance they have to make it to the next round, but I'm not sure I can see Volkswagen making it. And they may very well go through with this plan if they can fund it. Despite how I may come across, I actually would like Volkswagen to succeed. I just don't like their approach. They literally lied to us, and obviously have a reputation for it in the past, which makes it hard to believe them now. It's not necessary to lie. They have a lot of loyal customers who want them to succeed. And it's like I say, the world would be boring if everyone drove Teslas. I mean, how cool would an electric Lamborghini be? One that you can drive without having to worry about the clutch wearing out and costing $10,000 to replace. Anyway, if anything, this was very good news for all Tesla shareholders in my opinion. Thanks for listening, please hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.